Alright, and welcome back. We are doing lesson 56. This lesson is called the slope-intercept equation of a line. Okay, and we need to know what slope-intercept form looks like, and this is something you'll want to memorize, okay? And this is good because it's very useful for graphing. It makes it so that we don't have to make those table of values that we've been making if we understand how to use slope-intercept form. Okay, and here's the equation. Now you're going to have to stick with me for a second here while I change pens back and forth because I like to color code this, okay? Now, the things I'm putting in black never change, okay? You're always going to write these, so like the letter Y, you're always going to write as the letter Y. It's Y equals, okay? Then it's called M times X plus B, okay? So, slope-intercept form, we call Y equals MX plus B. Okay, the stuff in black never changes when you write it. So you're always going to write Y equals, then this letter M right here is going to be some number. Okay, and what M tells you, it's going to be a number for the slope. Okay, so M is automatically going to tell you what the slope of your line is. And remember we did slope, that's rise over run. Okay, so the M is always going to tell us what that is. Okay, how we move about our line. And we're going to multiply that times x, and that's always going to be the number x, or the letter x, plus, and then b is going to be what's called our y-intercept. Okay? And a y-intercept is where the line crosses the, let me move this up here, y-axis. Okay, so the y-intercept tells us where our line, where our graph should cross the y-axis, the up and down axis. Okay, so again, I want you to memorize this, okay? So when I ask you what slope-intercept form is, you should be able to tell me y equals mx plus b. Okay, and remember, m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. Okay, now let's look how this works when we graph. Okay, objective 1 up here is going to be to graph linear equations in slope-intercept form. So again, we're graphing linear equations, and we're using the slope-intercept form of the line. And again, the nice thing about this is that means we don't have to make a table of values because we already know enough about our line to graph it. Okay, now A asks us, well, first of all, they give us this equation right here, y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Then it says, where does the graph of the equation cross the y-axis? And does the line rise to the right or fall to the right? Okay, so again, first thing I want you to do on any problem we've done is change subtraction to addition. Okay, so this is going to change to say y equals 2/3 x, change the minus to a plus, and 4 goes to negative 4. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and underneath that, I'm going to write my slope-intercept form. Again, that was y equals, you guys remember it? Y equals mx plus b. Okay? Now the good thing about this is that we should be able to tell what our slope is and what our y-intercept is. Okay? So our slope is the red, that's my m. So the slope of our line, or m, is equal to 2/3. Okay, 2/3, rise over run. So that means I go up 2 into the right 3 when I'm looking at my line. Okay, then my y-intercept, or my b value, is just where the b spot is right here. That's negative 4. So my b is negative 4. So that tells me where it crosses the y-axis, remember. So just from this line, I've got two key pieces of information. So for part A, it says where does the graph of the equation cross the y-axis? Okay, and that is at negative 4. So when I write that as an ordered pair, remember ordered pairs are always x's and y's. So if it crosses the y-axis, the x has to be 0, and the y value is negative 4. So that's my ordered pair. Okay, so when I tell where does the graph of the equation cross the y-axis, that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it crosses at my y-intercept, which is 0, -4. So if I was to plot that point, I wouldn't move left or right, and I would just go down 4 on the y-axis. Okay, and then part B, does the line rise to the right or fall to the right? Well, that will tell us, that's from our slope, remember? Okay, so we're going to use the m value for this. And remember when we talked about slope, we said that positive slopes rise to the right and negative slopes fall to the right. Okay, positive slopes go uphill and negative slopes go downhill. Well, since our slope is positive, that means that the line has to rise to the right. It's going to go uphill. We're going to go up 2 and over 3. Okay? Now again, that's a lot of information that we can find out just from this little y equals mx plus b form that we wrote right here. Okay? So, a lot of key information there that's really helpful to make quicker and easier graphs than using the table of values. So let's see how that looks now. Okay, example 2 says to write the equations of the lines a and b in slope-intercept form. And then they ask at what point do lines a and b intersect. Okay, so I'm going to, again, I like to just color code things. So we're going to first put line A. Okay, and when we do slope-intercept form, I'm going to color code it again. Okay, so the very first thing that we need to do is find the slope of line A. Okay, now remember, to find the slope of line A here, we need to know how do I get from point to point on my line. Well, first thing I should notice is that this line goes uphill, so it should be a positive slope. Okay, and to find the slope, I'm just going to count. How do I move along this line? So I'm going to count, how do I get from this point to this point? Again, remember, the slope, oops, sorry, I should be putting that in red. It means I like to color code my stuff here. So my slope is my rise over the run, which in this case I go up 1, 2, so my rise is positive 2, over, and my run is over 1. Okay, so I'm going up 2 and over 1. So that's my slope. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and erase that so we can see this line again here. The y-intercept, that's where it crosses the y-axis. Well, if you look right here, we've got the letter y, so the y is this up and down axis. So I'm trying to find out where does line A, that's right here, cross this axis. Well, we should be able to see right here is where that crosses. So I'm going to write what that point is. Again, my y-intercept I like to write in blue. Okay, so this point right here, this is at 0, because I don't move left or right, and -2. So we're at 0 and -2 for our b. So we found m, we found b, now we need to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So remember, that means we're going to write it in y equals, do you remember how it goes? Should be saying it to yourself right now, y equals m x plus b. Okay? So now I'm going to literally just fill in my m and my b. Remember, the stuff in black doesn't change. So when I write this in slope-intercept form, it's going to be y equals. My m was 2 over 1. So I'm going to put 2 over 1 times, x doesn't change, plus, and my b, which is -2. So my slope-intercept form of line A is y equals 2 over 1 x plus -2. Y equals mx plus b. Alright? So we're going to do the same thing here for line B now. And we need to find first our m of our line B. And that's the rise over the run again, because that's the slope. So now I'm looking at line B here. That's this, whoops, sorry. Okay, looking at line B, that's this one right here. So I need to know how do I get from point to point on line B. Well, my rise, I go up 1, so 1 goes on top. and then I go over 2. So my run is 2. Okay, so my slope is 1 over 2 this time, the opposite of the last one. Okay, now again I'm going to erase that so we can see. The y-intercept, our b value, is where it crosses the y-axis. So again, I'm going to write this as an ordered pair. So my b value is this point right here where it crosses the y-axis. And that is at, I go 0 because I'm on the y-axis, and up 1. So it's 0 and positive 1 because I went up 1. Now again, I'm going to use those two pieces of information to write this in slope-intercept form. Okay, so again, it's, say it with me, y equals m x plus b. Okay, and now we're just going to fill in the stuff we need to know, our m and our b. Okay, so we're going to leave y equals, this time my m is 1/2 times x plus, and this time my b was positive 1. Okay, so the value of that line is y equals 1/2 x plus 1. Now let's look at how this kind of work together. So if I look at line A, what this line tells me is it should cross the y-axis at -2, and I should be able to go up 2 and over 1 to get to any point on my line. So line A here crosses at -2, and if I go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, I hit my line every time. Okay, and line B says I should cross the y-axis at +1, and I should be able to go up 1 over 2 to get to any line, or any point. Okay, so if I start at 1, I should be able to go up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, and still hit the line every single time. Okay, you can see how nice this is, and how we can really use this form to make graphing easy. Okay, now we need to answer our last question on here, which was, at what point do lines A and B intersect? Okay, that means where do they cross each other? And you can see they cross each other right here. So we can answer they intersect at, and we need to name what this point is. Well, I go from the origin, I go over 2 and up 2. Okay, so they intersect at 2, 2. And there's my 3 answers to the problem. I've got line A in slope-intercept form, line B in slope-intercept form, and where they intersect. All right, now let's do a problem where we actually are going to use this to actually make the graph ourselves.